ain't gonna make that call.
Rock and roll was built on youth, rebellion, and the promise of living forever. But the body kept a strict calendar, and the stage demanded more every year. These were 15 hard rock and metal moments when legends looked too old to perform. Number 15, Ozzy Osbourne. On February 1st, 2023, the farewell that had been teased for years finally hit a hard wall. Ozzy Osbourne canceled his UK and European tour dates, admitting he was not physically capable of the travel. The damage traced back to a bad fall in 2019, which aggravated old injuries and led to a long chain of surgeries, rehab, and weakness that never fully cleared. This was the same voice that had helped turn Black Sabbath into a shockwave in 1970, when Paranoid topped the UK album chart. The cruel twist was that Ozzy's voice was not the main problem. Mobility was. In January 2020, he publicly revealed he had Parkinson's disease, and later explained he had known about it since 2003. That mix of aging, injury, and neurological reality created the kind of battle no encore can fix. Metallica, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden all built parts of their DNA on his blueprint, which made every update feel personal. Number 14, Aerosmith.
Watch you smile while you are sleeping, while you're far away and dreaming.
50 years of history did not end with a planned grand finale. It ended with Anatomy. Aerosmith announced their Peace Out Farewell Tour on May 1st, 2023, then finally hit the road on September 2nd, 2023 in Philadelphia. 3 shows later, on September 9th, 2023 at UBS Arena in Elmont, New York, Steven Tyler fractured his larynx and sustained severe vocal cord damage. Tyler was 75 years old that night, and the injury immediately shut the tour down. Months turned into a full year of waiting. On August 2nd, 2024, Aerosmith canceled the remaining dates and retired from touring, stating that a full recovery was not possible. The band had sold more than 150 million records worldwide, and their swaggering attack on Toys in the Attic had shaped generations of riff-driven rock. Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, and even modern hard rock radio owe them a debt. The cruel part was simple. The songs still mattered, but the body made the final call. Number 13, Led Zeppelin. July 13, 1985 was supposed to be triumph, closure, and history all at once. Led Zeppelin walked onto the Live Aid stage at JFK Stadium in Philadelphia, and the weight of expectation was unreal. John Bonham had died in September 1980, so this reunion used 2 drummers, Phil Collins and Tony Thompson, trying to cover a role that was practically sacred. The set leaned on hard rock staples like Rock and Roll and Whole Lotta Love, but the band sounded strangely unstable. Sound problems and limited rehearsal time did real damage. Jimmy Page later described it as not very clever, and Robert Plant's view darkened further with time, calling the performance horrendous. Nobody on that stage was elderly, but the gap between the 1973 monster and the 1985 reality proved the point. Hard rock is athletic music. It demands stamina, timing, and touch. Bands like Whitesnake, Def Leppard, and Kingdom Come had chased Zeppelin's fire, and Live Aid showed how hard it was to summon that fire on command. Number 12, The Rolling Stones. In late March 2026, Keith Richards gave one of the most honest late-career interviews in rock history. Speaking to Guitar World, he explained how age and arthritis had changed his approach to guitar, including playing fewer notes because he was not as fast as he used to be. Richards was 82 years old, still adapting the hands that built entire genres of attitude. The Rolling Stones had just proven their relevance again with Hackney Diamonds, their first album of original material since A Bigger Bang in 2005. The takeaway was not pity, it was physics. Arthritis attacks grip strength, finger independence, and endurance, the exact things a stadium set quietly demands for 2 hours. Richards has always been a feel player, but even feel has a speed limit when joints swell and lock. AC/DC, Aerosmith, and Guns N' Roses all inherited the Stones' swagger, but Richards showed the hidden cost of carrying that swagger into your 80s. The riffs can live forever, the hands do not. Number 11, Mötley Crüe. body can betray a musician long before fans notice. Mick Mars had lived with ankylosing spondylitis since he was a teenager, a degenerative disease that can fuse parts of the spine and make movement brutally painful. Yet he still powered Mötley Crüe's biggest heights, including Dr. Feelgood, produced by Bob Rock, which topped the Billboard 200 in 1989. By the time the band launched their 2022 stadium run, the physical price was obvious in how hard touring had become. In late 2022, Mars told the band he could no longer tour. In April 2023, he sued his bandmates, arguing they were trying to push him out and reduce his stake after decades of work. He was 71 years old, and the fight was not about ego. It was about what his body could still survive. Mötley Crüe influenced generations of glam and heavy hard rock, from Poison to Steel Panther. But Mars's story showed the darkest truth. Even the loudest riffs cannot overpower chronic pain forever. Before we continue, which of these stories felt the most brutal so far? Did Mötley Crüe on the Dr. Feelgood era feel like peak arena mayhem in your memory? Drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from and what year your first real hard rock concert happened. Number 10. Poison. September 5, 1991 delivered a televised meltdown that became a permanent stain on hair metal's late-era image. Poison arrived at the MTV Video Music Awards, riding the success of Flesh and Blood, which peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and earned triple platinum certification in the US. The plan was simple: play Unskinny Bop. But the performance began during a commercial break, then collapsed into chaos on a live broadcast as CC DeVille disrupted the flow and the band lurched into Talk Dirty to Me. The moment felt like an entire scene running out of fuel in real time. A backstage fistfight between Bret Michaels and DeVille followed, and DeVille was fired shortly after. It was not about old age in years. It was about a genre aging out in public, suddenly looking exhausted and unstable on national television. The sharper edge of the early 1980s had moved on into Metallica, Pantera, and Slayer. Poison's VMA disaster became an accidental symbol of the baton being ripped away. Number 9. Number 9. Guns N' Roses. Some careers do not fade quietly. They combust on schedule. Appetite for Destruction became the best-selling debut album in U.S. history and has sold over 30 million copies worldwide, setting a standard that few bands of any era ever touched. But the longer the years went on, the harder it became for Axl Rose to match the vocal violence of Welcome to the Jungle and Night Train on a random Thursday night. One widely circulated flashpoint came at the Warfield in San Francisco in September 2006, when the band took up the stage roughly 2 hours late. During Sweet Child O' Mine, Rose reportedly stopped the show, removed his in-ear monitors, and had an unruly fan removed. The concert continued, but the incident became part of the legend, the sense that the machine was harder to control with age and wear. In April 2014, Guns N' Roses headlined the Revolver Golden Gods amid chaotic production issues, another reminder that live performance is fragile. Bands like Velvet Revolver, Buckcherry, and later hard rock revivalists inherited the attitude, but not the stamina test. Number 8. Black Sabbath. A diagnosis can turn a tour into a clock. In January 2012, Tony Iommi revealed he had lymphoma while Black Sabbath were building their final era, recording 13 and preparing to tour again. The album arrived in 2013 and hit number 1 in both the UK and the US, selling 155,000 copies in its first week in America. Those numbers proved the hunger was still there, but the cost behind the curtain had changed. The man who invented the heavy metal riff was now scheduling life around treatment. What made it hit harder was how physical Iommi's style was. Down-tuned grooves like Iron Man and War Pigs are not just notes. They are endurance events for the hands and shoulders. He kept going anyway, finishing the final run with the End Tour in Birmingham in February 2017. This was not a story of giving up. It was a story of pushing through and letting the world see what that push looked like when the stakes were real. Every doom band and every thrash band exists because of that persistence. Number 7. The Who. There are moments when a legend says the quiet part out loud on stage. At a solo concert at Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, Florida on February 11, 2023, Roger Daltrey struggled through an abbreviated set, then stopped and refused to keep forcing his voice. He told the crowd he would do himself serious damage, and he was not going to do it because he would never sing again. Then he added the line that landed like a punch: he was not a robot. The show ended after roughly an hour, with Daltrey approaching 79 years old and openly fighting hearing and monitoring problems. The deeper story was what touring does over decades. Loud stages punish ears, and strained vocal cords punish singers, especially when songs were written for a 25-year-old throat. The Who's catalog is built on power. My Generation, Who Are You, and Won't Get Fooled Again do not leave much room to coast. Acts like Van Halen, Pearl Jam, and Green Day all drew from that template of explosive live rock. Daltrey's stop was a rare act of self-preservation and a reminder that even icons eventually hit a limit. Number 6. Bon Jovi. The sound of 1986 was not subtle. It was choruses built for arenas. Slippery When Wet hit #1 on the Billboard 200, was certified 15 times platinum in the US, and its US sales stand around 15 million copies. That success made Jon Bon Jovi's voice one of the most recognizable instruments in hard rock. So when he explained that he underwent cutting-edge vocal cord surgery after one cord was literally atrophied, it was not gossip, it was the foundation cracking. The recovery was slow, public, and humbling. After his last full concert on April 30th, 2022, he spent years rebuilding strength and reliability, the unglamorous work that most fans never see. The story was not about losing fame, it was about protecting the one thing that made the songs possible. Bands like Def Leppard, Cinderella, and later radio rock giants learned from Bon Jovi's melodic formula. But melody is unforgiving when the singer cannot deliver. The older the voice gets, the smaller the margin becomes. Before we continue, which band on this list still sounded shockingly strong the last time you saw them live? Did Slippery When Wet feel like the moment arena rock became unstoppable in your hometown? Drop a comment and share the venue, the city, and the year. Those details always bring the best memories back. Number 5. AC/DC. When Malcolm Young stepped away, it did not just change a lineup, it changed a machine. In September 2014, Malcolm's family confirmed he was being treated for dementia, and he would not return to AC/DC. Malcolm had been the band's internal metronome, the co-writer who helped build Highway to Hell, Back in Black, and Thunderstruck into hard rock architecture. He was 61 years old when the illness made performing impossible, and the band had to admit it publicly. AC/DC continued with Stevie Young filling the rhythm role, and the 2014 album Rock or Bust moved forward without the man who had shaped every prior record. Malcolm died on November 18, 2017 at 64, and his absence still feels like the moment a golden era quietly ended. His story fits the theme in the most painful way. The mind itself can become the thing that makes performance unattainable. Every modern bar band playing AC/DC riffs is really playing Malcolm's discipline, and discipline is the hardest thing to replace. Number 4. Def Leppard. June 10, 2013 forced Def Leppard into a kind of bravery they had already learned once. Guitarist Vivian Campbell revealed he was battling Hodgkin's lymphoma, yet he planned to tour anyway. Def Leppard were not strangers to perseverance. Rick Allen had rebuilt his entire drumming approach after losing his arm in a December 31, 1984 car crash. But cancer adds a different kind of exhaustion, the kind that hits before the show even starts. Campbell's condition retreated and returned over the years, and in 2015 he briefly stepped away as the disease resurfaced, then rejoined the tour. Hysteria, released in 1987, eventually became their peak monument, hitting #1 in both the UK and the US and selling more than 20 million copies worldwide. Those songs, Pour Some Sugar on Me, Animal, and Love Bites, demanded energy and precision even when the body was depleted. Def Leppard influenced an entire lane of melodic hard rock, from Bon Jovi peers to later acts like Hinder, and Campbell's endurance made that influence feel earned. Number 3. Robert Plant. December 10, 2007 proved Led Zeppelin could still be great. Then it proved something else. At the Ahmet Ertegun tribute concert at London's O2 Arena, the band played a full set with Jason Bonham on drums, and the performance was widely praised. Plant was 59 years old, and for one night, he reached back into the lightning. Then he walked away from the obvious next step, a full reunion tour, even as massive money offers and non-stop public pressure swirled around him. Plant's reasoning was blunt. In multiple interviews across the years, he emphasized that Zeppelin could never truly be complete without John Bonham, and he refused to treat the band like a nostalgia machine. Instead, he chased different creative lives, including his Grammy-winning work with Alison Krauss on Raising Sand. That choice became its own kind of aging story. Sometimes being too old to perform is not a physical failure. It is the decision that pretending is worse than stopping. Younger bands can imitate the sound, but they cannot imitate that restraint. Number 2. Ozzy Osbourne. July 5, 2025 turned Birmingham into a shrine. Back to the Beginning, staged at Villa Park, was billed as a final farewell for both Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, and it delivered something few fans thought they would ever see again. Ozzy performed a solo set, including guitarist Zakk Wylde, then returned with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward for 4 Sabbath classics: War Pigs, Iron Man, NIB, and Paranoid, marking the first time the original lineup had performed together since 2005. He performed seated, conserving strength, letting the crowd carry the weight with him. 17 days later, on July 22, 2025, Ozzy died at 76. The timing made the performance feel less like a concert and more like a closing chapter written with full awareness. Heavy metal has always sold immortality, but that night showed a different kind of power. Acceptance, gratitude, one last bow in the city that invented the sound. For fans raised on Judas Priest speed, Metallica precision, and Pantera aggression, it was a reminder that every path traces back to one man daring to sing over the first truly heavy riffs.
Telling people they desire.
Number 1. Aerosmith. There was no confetti cannon ending, no perfectly timed curtain drop, just one last night that nobody recognized as the last. On September 9, 2023, Aerosmith played UBS Arena in Elmont, New York, the third show of their farewell tour run, and Steven Tyler pushed through the set like a man who had survived everything. Then, he walked off stage with a fractured larynx and severe vocal cord damage, and the road behind him quietly disappeared. Tyler was 75, and the injury required immediate rest, then months of uncertainty. Aerosmith had been built for performance: the strut of Sweet Emotion, the bite of Back in the Saddle, the street fight grit of Toys in the Attic, and an album that has sold more than 9 million copies in the United States alone. They were the best-selling American hard rock band of all time, with more than 150 million records sold worldwide, and still the body made the final call. When the band retired from touring on August 2, 2024, it closed a 50-year chapter with a strangely human truth. Even legends do not always get to choose their final note.